From Moving Traditions, this is At 13, a podcast exploring what it really means to prepare for and become a bar or bat mitzvah. I'm Sarah Avery. Let's meet some middle schoolers getting ready for their big days.
My name is Maria Levy-Mazie. I am 12, almost 12 and a half, and I live in Brooklyn, New York.
Maria will be a bat mitzvah in a few months. I ask her about her speech, her Dvar Torah, and about her laning, that is, her chanting of the Torah portion. What is the thing that you're most, jittery about at this point?
I would say the Torah, and, singing and chanting in front of the whole your audience. It's hard, and you're gonna be nervous at some point.
She's got classic jitters. Sometimes those jitters happen when you're standing on the bima. That's the stage where the Torah is read.
Vayishlach Yehoshua ben Nun. Micah, I'll be 13 in 6 days.
Like if there was a worst case scenario about your bar mitzvah, if you felt like things were going to go wrong, what would be the worst thing to go wrong in your opinion?
I forget the Torah portion. That's just the worst it can be.
Is it fair to ask a kid who's 12 or 13 to be the center of attention if they don't want to stand in front of a large group and to sing and chant and speak? Are we simply adding to their already stressful lives?
It's been a huge mistake on the part of American Judaism that we've taken the Orthodox model of you must get up and learn Torah and made it a ritual of public embarrassment for adolescents.
I put this question to journalist Mark Oppenheimer. He's also the author of the book 13 in a Day.
What we now do is we try to teach a bunch of 12 and 13-year-olds who don't know Hebrew very well and may not be musical at all and may not be gifted with the gift of Torah reading, that the single most important thing they can do is read a little bit of Torah from the parchment scroll without the vowel markings, to do something incredibly difficult. So, of course, most of them are thrilled to get it over with. They cram for it in the weeks leading up to it. They barely gasp it out. We're telling 12 and 13-year-olds, most of whom don't have good voices, go sing publicly. Of course they're elated when it's over. Of course they want nothing more than to have a party. And of course they never want to set foot in a synagogue again, at least for many years, because we've made it the place where they have to sing publicly in front of their friends. What a terrible idea.
Have we made a huge mistake? Well, we talked to a lot of experts. Here's Rachel Simmons.
I remember being incredibly nervous before going up to the bima and doing my portion.
Simmons is the author of Odd Girl Out
and a self-designated girl expert.
And she's devoted her career to empowering girls and young women.
I remember this amazing feeling of, oh, I got this. Like, I'm going to be in front of all these people, however many there were, 100 people or something, and I'm going to just crush my portion and my haftorah. And I felt a great confidence. And I had never before commanded an audience like that. And I had never before felt a sense of comfort like that with my own voice in front of an audience. And if I'm honest, probably the next time I felt that was when I was standing at a lectern talking about my very first book at the University of Washington. I also was terrified and then stood up there and had that same sense of, oh, I got this. I can do this.
Deborah Meyer found power in learning the musical notation that accompanies the Hebrew text.
I loved learning trope. I just loved it.
Meyer co-founded Moving Traditions.
That sense of mastery is really important to kids at 12, and that's why I think the bar and bat mitzvah is a great idea. Some people question the timing, but I think it's perfect. It's the age of competence.
Other elements of her bat mitzvah also had significance.
And I love my dress, which my grandmother helped make for me. So that was really special that it was this sort of peach color with lace on top. How do you make even more beautiful a beautiful experience? And I feel like, clothes. The clothes really help.
So is it possible that girls are having a different experience around their bat mitzvah than boys are around their bar mitzvahs?
Boys have kind of a split pressure.
I asked Andrew Smiler about it.
I am a therapist and author focusing on work with boys and men and issues that boys and men deal with. They want to perform well. They want their parents to be proud of them. In general, they want to perform well and be proud of their own performance. Certainly the rabbi, other members of the congregation, other adults they're close to. And at the same time, they also want to look cool. And so there's this pressure to kind of look like you're not taking it seriously. because as boys in 21st century America, like, we're not really supposed to be into that because that's like some adult thing, and us teen boys are cooler than that. So boys end up giving off a lot of mixed messages.
Smiler experienced this split himself.
You know, thinking about what I did, thinking about the other boys in my bar mitzvah class, like, none of us would actually admit to studying our Haftorah portion, or that we were really thinking about what either the Haftarah or the Torah portion meant for that week, even though we were all being called in to talk about it with the rabbi, and we knew that we were going to have to talk about it publicly with my friends, you know, like, oh, I'm cool, I'm not working hard for this is going to be a breeze. But then behind the scenes or with the adults, there was a lot more effort there.
Did your family know or your community know that you were sort of, for lack of a better term, having kind of a split personality about the way you were approaching this? I mean, did they kind of go along with that ruse?
It was always my impression that the rabbi knew, because of course he had been doing this for 25 years by that point, and he had seen lots of teenage boys kind of play this game. I don't think my mom really got it, and I know that my mom was very worried about whether or not I was going to look bad during my bar mitzvah, and whether or not I was going to be able to pull it off.
And what about boys today? How are they navigating being the center of attention?
Boys are taught both to brag about themselves and also to not draw attention to themselves. And again, so you get this very different dynamic where some of us really stand up and seek the spotlight, and some of us, regardless of what it is that we do, kind of always deflect the spotlight and say, oh, no, I'm just doing what I can, I'm just helping out. And there's very kind of masculine dialogue around both of those positions and how you do it.
Girls are desperate to find their tribe, says Rachel Simmons.
Friendships, and friendships. I mean, I always say that friendships are the class they're paying the most attention to. The middle school years are a time where two things happen. I mean, one, you just become really aware of your peers and incredibly embarrassed by your parents, and you want so badly to fit in. And that's developmental. That's supposed to happen. The other thing that's happening for girls is they're becoming very aware of the rules of femininity and the expectation that society enforces, that you're supposed to be nice, you're supposed to be friends with everyone, don't be too conflictual, don't be selfish, don't be conceited. And so just at this moment where fitting in becomes paramount, they're also navigating and trying to make sense of these confusing rules. Around early adolescence is the time where they're trying to figure out, how do I be the girl I'm supposed to be and still kind of fit in? Besides that, I would say social media is just popping for them. A lot of them around this time are getting access to Instagram, to Facebook, to Snapchat. And with great power, says Spider-Man, comes great responsibility. And so some of them squander that and do stupid things. Some of them become really obsessed with likes and attention online and begin to equate likes with self-worth and social status. And so that also can create a lot of conflict, a lot of insecurity, a lot of drama.
In the kind of 12 to 14, 15-year-old range, it's really about identifying who they are in their own skin, what they're comfortable with, and then really self-esteem issues.
Sarah Voigt founded an organization called Puberty Concierge,
which aims to connect kids, teens, adolescents, and their parents or caregivers with resources to help them with the social, emotional, and physical development that comes along with the pubescent times that kids go through. So today, given the impact of social media, there's a whole new set of pressures that teenagers face. There was one teenager that I worked with who said that there's an unreasonable, and these were her words, expectation for teens to have to respond. They have cell phones, and there's an expectation that they're immediately available. And I think that puts a lot of pressure on kids.
Parents can approach these social media challenges in any number of ways. We know one family in Washington who issued a simple directive on their daughter's bat mitzvah invitation. It said, "Leave your phone at home, kids. It will be taken away from you for the duration of the party if you bring it."
Oh my God, I love that family. They're American heroes, and I think that they should get a special Jewish award. Broadcasting what's happening at the party which either makes the people not there feel left out, or the people who are there feel like they're not hanging out with the right people. I mean, fear of missing out is something that happens right in front of you for a lot of these girls. Not, the right place and the right time isn't just a matter of being included in a particular situation. It could even just be like talking to the right person in that situation. So there's a bit of a bottomless pit of wanting more and more in terms of connection and attention from other girls.
So we hear so many negatives about social media, but isn't there also some value to it?
Yeah, so social media is interesting.
Sarah Voigt.
With social media today comes more privacy and autonomy, but at the same time, much more exposure. So it used to be that you would get a phone call and everyone in the house would know who you're talking to, and you would spend an hour on that phone call, right? So today, that's not what happens. People don't call places the way they used to. They call people. They call individuals, right? And so you no longer, as an adult, as a parent or a caregiver, have as much ability to vet. The ability to vet kind of what's going on through social media is much more limited than it used to be because there was not the presence that it is today. Along with social media comes communities and the ability to access resources, and the world is much more open. I think that the goal is, as a parent, to be able to figure out how to properly vet what your kids are doing on social media, limiting the amount of screen time, and establishing, more importantly, the relationship, because really the goal is to have them talk to you, to share with you what's going on. That's where they're going to open up the most.
And Moving Traditions has a lot of these resources.
I'm Rabbi Tamara Cohen, and I'm the Chief of Innovation at Moving Traditions. For all teens, regardless of gender, coming into adolescence is a time in some way of shrinking the freedom that they have as younger people. And so there become fewer emotions that are okay to express and more of a need to fit in. And the bar and bat mitzvah is a time of both fitting in and standing out. It's a time of, in a certain way, performance, but also figuring out how to be authentic within the ritual or the performance, and self-esteem and body image issues, and then being told that, okay, now you're going to be the center of attention and everyone's going to be looking at you, and having to figure out how to navigate that and figure out, well, how do I define who I am and my relationship with my body and my changing body in a positive way. And there's also the struggle, of course, with beginning to have more independence from parents, but still not having full independence.
The point of a bar bat mitzvah is it's the beginning of an adult Jewish life. So that's ultimately the question you have to answer is, after my son or daughter does this, how does Jewish life now change and become big and new and interesting? What doors does it open up?
And Mark Oppenheimer reminds us there are so many different ways families with kids who are bar bat mitzvah age can begin investing in Judaism.
Number one, think about what Shabbat means to you. Maybe it doesn't mean that you give up everything on the Sabbath, but in some way figure out how you're going to sanctify one day with family time or with 5 minutes of meditation or with reading a paragraph of Judaism, something on Shabbat, some little bit of learning once in a while, some little bit of spiritual practice, again, even if that's just, singing a particular song to yourself once a week, but that begin getting into the rhythms of self-care and community building that Judaism provides.
So in our work at Moving Traditions, we train mentors and educators to work with teen boys, teen girls, and trans teens, people who can help teens to address the gender codes and the expectations that they face as they journey from middle school to high school.
That's Rabbi Daniel Brenner.
So back in the 13th century, Maimonides posed a simple question, which I really think should be at the heart of Jewish education for teens. The question is, what are your innate qualities as a human, and how can you grow? And the way Maimonides said it was, are you too slow to get angry or too quick? Are you avoiding taking risks, or are you taking too many risks? Are you doing too much to please others, or are you just so averse to pleasing others that you become completely socially isolated? So at 13, preteens really start looking back on their childhood and asking all of those who am I questions. And I think that we should make sure in the Jewish community that every teen has a forum where they can really explore those conversations.
When it really comes down to it, what these 13-year-olds are doing is really brave.
I owe something to my community, my family's expecting something of me, and I also have to summon something within myself, a certain degree of courage, and I have to make some choices and exercise my own authority. And in that way, it is a really important rite of passage.
Next time on At 13, what to do about the social pressures.
They have to be, straight A students. They have to be the editor of the yearbook. They have to be the captain of the team. They have to be doing their bat mitzvah, and they have to do it all effortlessly. It all has to appear effortless and perfect. And there is such fear of even minor failures.
That's next time on At 13. The At 13 podcast is produced by Michelle Siegel and me. I'm Sarah Ivry. Our executive producer is Rabbi Daniel Brenner. Funding to support At 13 comes from the Jewish Community Foundation of Los Angeles, Crown Family Philanthropies, JUF Breakthrough Fund of Chicago, Michael and Carol Lowenstein Foundation, and the many individual donors who support Moving Traditions. The At 13 podcast is powered by Moving Traditions, a nonprofit organization that helps teens grow into healthy, connected Jewish adults. You can learn more about our Bar and Bat Mitzvah initiative at movingtraditions.org.